the Gentlementor.
I said this. We were talking about funny fast food stories. I remember, like, my aunt had this thing, like, new fast food would come through, and she would, like, hook on it, and then that's all you would eat for a month.
Right.
Anytime anybody came to town, like soft tacos, that's all we ate for a month. Every time you want to go get a soft taco? Hey, I know we're going to the lumber store to get lumber, but
We're going to get
the
some
taco place is just 6 or 8 miles down. We could swing by there and grab some tacos. Well, when deep dish pizza came, same thing. We gotta go. We loved it. Oh, we're having deep dish pizza. Summer comes, my mom and dad come to town, and my aunt wants to take my parents for deep dish pizza. And we're so excited because, yeah, man, deep dish pizza rocked. And back when Pizza Hut first started making it, it was so good. It sucks so bad now. And we went, and, there's a pizza. And I picked up the pizza, and, my dad, what are you doing? Eating the pizza. Put that back on your plate. You don't pick up food like that. The only food you can Miss Manners said the only food you can eat with your hands is fried chicken. You can't eat pizza with your hands.
What about soft tacos?
Every other person at the table's eating pizza with their hands. I'm the one that gets this rule. This rule is for me because my dad does not find it acceptable, and I'm the one person that he's boss of at the table.
Yeah.
He ain't going to try it with Mom, and he certainly won't going to try it with Henrietta. But Dad was the king of arbitrary rules.
Yeah.
They would just pop up, and you go, wait, I didn't get the memo on this. And when Joe McGee said that, I'm like, man, can you imagine living in a house where there's like only 3 things that would get you killed?
Yeah.
You know, not just like whatever you happened to do right then that got on Dad's last nerve. You know, there were actually a set of standards.
And that's the thing. It's tough to avoid that type of parenting when you jump onto that parenting saddle, that you start parenting based on your patience level or the amount of nerves that you have.
Not.
And I was the same way with our daughter. I was the same way about magic markers. I did not want her to draw with magic markers, because when you got the markers on your hand, they didn't come off for days. And all I could see was me spending 6 hours trying to scrub a magic marker off. So Deborah would be like, during the thing where you trace your hand with a magic marker. And I'm like, no, don't do that. Because you're going to get marker on there. It's going to come off. And so that's where I struggled with that whole thing of like, that's my limit of my patience. And I look back on that now and I go, why? Why did I feel that? Why did I care? Kids are supposed to have dirt under their fingernails and marker marks all over their hands.
Snot and glitter on their face. Snot and glitter on their face.
Skin knees and holes in their jeans. And I'm just like, that's what being a kid is about.
But they reflect on you. I had so many hard conflicts about ministry and parenting.
Yeah.
Because they
drill
you. They drill you with how everything you do reflects on the church, and then your children come along and everything they do reflects on it. And it's like
that's a reflection of your holiness is how well behaved your children are.
Well, and
that is not true.
Yeah, can we use? You don't mind if we use your kids to push our agenda, do you? It's not going to be a problem, right? Because
we have got to take that paradigm out of the whole parenting. That's a stigma in ministry.
Dude, nobody needs that, man. It's hard enough.
You can't have that pressure. And then look what it does to PKs, to kids who grow up being kids of pastors. It completely screws up their lives.
Yep.
Because that pressure, that's a bi-level pressure that comes down from the people to the parents and then to the kids, and it's unnecessary. We have got to get
redonkulous.
It is. I hate that. So if you're a pastor,
I do too.
Got a kid, raise your kids the way you know how. Don't let anybody tell you how to do it.
Yeah, come on. Doesn't the Bible say something about it's a thing with Jesus, and they get some kids, and there's some problem where somebody's taking kids away, and I don't remember. He says something, but it's not get the kids to the nursery. Get these kids out of here.
It's probably not that. Yeah, I'm more thinking of the don't grab the dog by the ears type little proverb. That's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, well, that's life advice. That's good stuff.
Keep your nets on your side of the boat. It's hey, Let's take a look at your perfect kids, right?
Yeah, but I mean, we do that to ourselves too, because it's that game we play where we try to see ourselves through other eyes, and when you're churchy, you're extra that way. My child should never cry because somehow this reflects on me, and my child should never, play with blocks or run around the sanctuary. It's like this is crazy.
Right.
You make people psycho doing this stuff to them.
You're right. I think probably 50% of that pressure is self-inflicted, when it comes to people in ministry too, because we want to be like, oh, my kid he has to know the memory verse. He cannot go to church unless
churches will rub it in.
Oh, of course. Yeah, because sometimes those can be the worst.
My least favorite person in any congregation is the neck that snaps when a kid makes a sound. Yep. When I see that one adult, and it's usually 1 to 2 adults, like a kid makes a noise like that, I'm like, you got to go.
Yeah. And it's always...
You're the problem.
And I hate to say it, but it's always that older person who's done raising children or has never had children.
Or...
perhaps, is a child themselves.
And one odd case, it was the older person, but also her daughter who was not that old, but had been raised to be like her.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And it's like... You're like an old church lady that's not old.
Which comes to another fabled piece of advice in parenting. Are you ready?
I am.
The apple does not fall far from the tree, as we all know.
True.
So be careful. Be careful how you react to those situations, because they're watching, whether you know it or not. They are listening.
Yes.
They can hear you. They can hear the inflections in your voice. They know what that means. They can hear the tone. They can hear the words, and they may not know what those words mean, but they know what your meaning is behind it. They can see those things. They can hear those things. When we think, they're not smart enough to know what I'm talking about. I'm whispering something to you so they can't hear me. So that doesn't mean I'm doing anything wrong. But the very fact that I'm whispering makes them go, something is not right
must be
here.
They got snacks in there? The problem with the apple and the tree thing is that, like, there's no avoiding that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a problem. It's the truth of it. Because a lot of it is just like genetic or something. Because my kids didn't turn out to be people I don't know. They're like different versions of me.
Right.
It's all that same stuff, and even the stuff that they weren't exposed to, a lot of it has managed to transfer to them, and makes me go, well, that isn't something I taught them. So yeah, it's not. Andy's like, which one would you say is more like you? I'm like, they're not. They're split right down the middle. It's the two halves of my personality. I said, what everybody else gets is to see those two people. They're both in here all the time. Yep. That's how I live. You got the one who's like kind of pragmatic and outgoing, and she's kind of fun, but when things go bad, she's a bear. Urgh. And you got the other one she's weird and quirky and creative, but she's terribly insecure and constantly thinks that everybody doesn't like her for some reason. It's like, that sounds familiar. She called last week and she's melting down and all. She's got a boyfriend now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Well,
okay.
It's been like something's going on, and she finally fessed up a couple weeks ago. But then the other day, she went through this thing, and he's different hours than she is, and they can't contact, and she's not getting to spend enough time, and she thinks, and I called him and asked him if there's any way he could text me more, and now he thinks I'm being a hassle, and I'm like, yeah, tap the brakes.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. I'm like, what's going on? I can't talk to him, and I keep thinking this is happening. I'm like, oh, no, not you two. Not you two.
Your mind is running away.
Said, okay,
runaway rails.
Here's this third time I'm going to have this conversation this week. All them conversations in your head, they're lies. Take control. Shut them down. That's the only win.
Yep.
You got to quit listening to them. You got to shut them down. As soon as they start, as soon as they whisper. No.
That's a whole nother workshop there.
Oh, that's 1,000 workshops. That's 40 years.
You're 100% right, though. If you took both of us, if we could take not that we want to do this, but we do the whole Solomon thing. We cut our children in half and then switch the pieces together and put them together. I'd have a whole piece, a whole Deborah and a whole Mark, because they both have the completely opposite things that the other one does not have, but they both have half of me and they both have half. It's amazing
Yeah,
because
one's ducky and one's jiggly.
right.
Yeah. They're mismatched halves of us. But I'm like, I tell them, I'm like, look at this. Look at it this way. You only have to deal with half this.
Oh,
I gotta deal with both sides of it inside my head. I said, you see how your sister? I said, you see how you guys can get along so great all the time, and then all of a sudden you guys can't get along anymore?
Yep. You need to be more thankful. I have to put up with all of me. You only have to put up with half of me.
Exactly. I'm like, what are you bitching about? I said, here's the other 50%. Your dad's already gone through all this. What I learned at 40 and am still struggling to put into practice at 50, I'm telling you while you're 20.
Yeah.
Get to work.
Oh man. If only at 20.
Like, I was 30 before I realized that, like, things could change.
Yeah.
Because all we are told growing up is that's just who you are. You're just that way. That's just how you are. Tiger can't change the stripes. Leopard can't change the spots. All that stuff. I was 30 before I realized that not only can things change, I can change them.
Ooh.
And that was the same time I figured, oh, here's what my problem is. But it was 10 more years before I understood the problem well enough to begin the work.
Yeah.
And that's been another 10 years. Now I'm sitting here at 50, and I feel like I'm just getting started.
It was a meme. I don't know who I don't know if Adam posted that or somebody posted that. We're like, who wants change? And everybody's like, yeah. And then in the next slide, it was, who wants to change? And everybody's like, no,
I
don't want to change. No.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Back, we had an election a few years back, and they had one of them slogans. It was about change.
It's in a,
I said, isn't it interesting that all these people want change so bad, but
nobody wants to change.
Everybody just wants somebody else to change. Nobody wants to change themselves. Everybody wants to go to heaven. Nobody wants to die.
Nobody wants to die. Yes, of course. We were in a meeting the other day, some staff people, and they were talking about some marketing things, and somebody was like, yeah, we're working on the slogan, working on the key phrase. So I mean, like, what are some key slogans that you know that when someone says the product that they're talking about? And somebody was like, melts in your mouth, not in your hands. Like, good one. What else? And somebody gets a couple other things. And I stood up and said, build back better. And everybody was like, wow, no.
I thought you were going to say, stick it in your ass.
No.
Is that a slogan?
No, it's build
That's
back
mine.
better. Build back better. Well, we probably scratched the
Get ready. I think this is going to be a series of surface scratchings.
The atomic surface layer of fatherhood. Because
I just don't know where to go except to throw out some warning signs and here are things that I would like to have known before I started this process. So that was my attempt at throwing those things out.
And maybe that's it. Maybe that's what we need. There you go. How about a series of posts, things I wish I knew before I was a father?
Where the birth control is. No, I love them. I'm so grateful for them. I'm curious about the ones that didn't make it, and I hope to meet them someday. Because I want to go. I want to go. What do you like? If she got that and she got that, what'd you get? Probably out of here. I saw what was coming and I hopped it out.
What an interesting narrative to follow about children that you didn't raise.
I think about them. Do you think about them?
I do. Yeah, because I've got one that was never in my care for very long for me to hold.
Right.
And I'm wondering, okay, what did they get? They didn't see me in action. They didn't see me make mistakes. They didn't see me.
Right.
I wonder how they. I don't know. Of course,
but
these spiritual beings.
Right. But these two know more than they should.
Yeah. True.
Like I said, I didn't ingrain all of this into them. Some of it they already had.
Sure. Absolutely.
So there's that. But yeah, I do think about that. I had the one miscarriage was a really bad experience. The first one was a bad experience, but it was a really weird experience.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever told you this. Um, the night before we went to the doctor, things were not going well. And so we were laying in bed. I remember laying there praying for Jackie. And I was laying, I had my stomach, I had a hand on her stomach. She's asleep, and I'm praying because I'm worried. Yeah, go figure. So I'm laying there, and you go into these weird, not awake, not asleep places as you're drifting off. And so I'm kind of in that drift off space, and I can see, like, if you were outside at night and there was a hill in front of you and there was a bright light behind that hill, and it's kind of shining up just so you can see, like, the outline of the top of the hill,
Yeah.
and kind of the light just barely peeking over from the other side. You can tell there's light on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And I start hearing these voices. And it's like little kids on a playground coming from the other side of that hill.
Was it a slide or swing set with Christmas lights?
I'm not getting into all that with you. That I don't know. I'm just like, you're just in that moment. You're not thinking about how weird this is or anything. You're just kind of caught up with it. And I hear these sounds. I'm like, what is that? And it's like, it's like little kids playing on a playground or something. I hadn't thought about the swing set thing. Jeez, what'd you do that to me for? And so I'm laying here and I'm just looking at this light and I'm hearing, and I realize, like, it's flickering. It's because there's kids over there and they're playing and they're like making shadows in the light and stuff, and you can see this. And I'm laying there and it's like I had this really peaceful feeling come over me, and it's like, oh, this is so nice. And all of a sudden something goes phew, like a shooting star from behind me, and it goes over that hill. And I knew right then. I didn't need to go to a doctor. I knew what it was.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
It was the soul making its way to the happy place.
Whatever it was.
Huh.
Like I said, however you want to characterize that, when it happened, I knew what it was. And it was like something about that made it okay. And it wasn't happy, and it wasn't like, oh, everything's fine, because that's what everybody wants to tell you. Right. Oh, well, the Lord, yeah, you know what? I don't need to know about what the Lord needs right now. I'm a little raw.
True.
But that was an extremely weird, and I've thought about that. That freaking thing sticks with me. And it has made me think about, of course, we've had all of our heaven conversations for the last several months, and people will meet and stuff, and think, I want to meet Jesus, meet David. I get to see my dad again. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. You know what? There's actually someone I'm a little more curious about.
Yeah.
Just because I know a lot about Jesus, and I spent a lot of years with my dad. And there's some people there that I actually want to go meet that I've never gotten to meet before. Yeah. And find out about them. And then I think, you're really weird.
Gosh, that's kind of a cool way for God just to kind of lay some peace down and just go, you know what? This is it. I can't, you can get those things with God. You can get that complete explanation in a split second that took you 4 minutes to explain to me. that God
yeah, exactly.
in an instant. And I always think about when something like that, I always think about what Cheryl Salem said when their daughter passed away of the brain tumor. And she said she got up there and she cried to God saying, why, blah, blah, blah. And she just felt like God's saying, you know what? You're a mother, and it doesn't matter what I tell you. It's not going to be enough.
Yeah.
And at that point, she realized she's right. It doesn't, not even an explanation from God can make you go, oh, okay. All right, that's good. I've lost a child.
Yeah.
That's cool. I'm cool with it now. I'm good. Now that you said that, that makes me okay with it. And there's nothing. I don't care. Even God giving you some kind of explanation, you're still gonna shake your fist and go, what kind of explanation is that? What is that over me? Anyway, that's the one thing that relieved me when I did all those duties of, burying this teenager because he overdosed and having to counsel these parents because they had a stillborn. That was like, I don't need to say anything. There's nothing that I can say in that moment. There's nothing. All I can do is just be there and say, you know what? I love you. I hate this, but I love you, and I'm going to be here for you. That's it. That's all you can
It
do.
never.
See,
Yeah.
yeah, seeing, the death of our fathers and, all that. It's like, I don't need anybody to say anything. I just need to know that you're there. Are you there? Done.
Yeah.
I called you that night. You were there. That was enough.
How many funerals have you been to where you go through the line trying to think of what you're going to say to encourage these people, and they wind up saying something that encourages you? It's like,
Yeah.
oh, wait a minute, that's not how that was supposed to work.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, but most of the time that's all they need. They don't need you to come up with some momentous hallmark saying. They just need you to go, hey, this sucks.
This goes back to the PK thing about raising children in ministry as a pastor, that we put that pressure on ourselves. It is not required. I did not, when my father passed away, when your father passed away, I was not looking for someone to say that motivational, inspirational thing to change all the circumstances. I don't know where that pressure comes from. Why do we feel like I need to say something that makes a difference in their life so they'll feel good about losing their child? No.
I think it's a variety of motivations.
Yeah.
Some people are motivated because people like me have that kind of Superman complex. And I feel like, man, if I could just think of the right thing to say, if I could just, man, I could, I know I can't make the hurt go away, but maybe something that can like help turn things around. You want to do that for people. Some people just, they want to be the center of attention. And so they put themselves in that space,
I think that is another level of narcissism, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is weird. It's like a weird narcissism.
I want to say something profound to you, so you will look up to me and see me as this.
Yeah. So I'll alleviate your pain and grief, and then you'll go, well, he said this thing that'll leave my.
Right, and now I must follow him, and we must have camp together.
Yeah, I think probably a good part of the maturing process is realizing that those magic words don't exist.
No, they don't, and there are none. And I think the magic thing is just going, you know what, I'm here. Hey, I'm just a phone call away. We still use that for phone. Do we use that, or do we use this?
The gift of presence.
The gift of presence. I like that. Well, I hate to end on a dark note, but
yeah, it did turn a little dark there. Sorry, I didn't mean to go there.
No, I think this is real. People experience this on a daily basis.
That's right. You can have this all customized in your own inbox for $59.99 a month.
I love it. You're selling it right now.
The Gentlementor.